talk about some crazy stuff that's happening in our world. There he is.
What's happening, man?
What's up, boss?
Oh, not much. Just enjoying some beautiful sunshine on the afternoon today. So,
You and I both, my friend. You and
yeah,
I
you're
both.
outside. Look at
I
you.
am. Well, I got to get out of my zoo. I
Yeah,
got too many kids. So
yeah,
you know how it is.
yeah. Mine are downstairs playing ping pong right now. So if you
I'm sure
hear some
that's super
screaming,
quiet.
that's why, because they're maybe a little bit competitive. So,
Well, at any moment, a dog, a bird, kids off of the trampoline, anything can happen on this live stream. So get ready, folks. We could end up in an emergency room.
yeah, we
So
are out in the wild. So let's make
yeah,
it
we are.
happen.
Yeah, we
Well,
are.
cool, man. Well, bro, I'm excited, man, to get to talk to you. I know that I've been kind of following the last couple of days. It's been a little bit nuts, but man, I just love how much creative content and how you continue to keep kind of pushing the envelope, challenging some people out there, and so ultimately, man, I love getting to chat with you because I think you always challenge me, you always inspire me. I always feel encouraged, and I always walk away with about 6 or 8 or 20 things to think about when the
You're
conversation's
being
over with.
super kind, but thank
No,
you.
man, no, it's for real. But I think, man, I'm interested because I know you're connected to so many different communities and you have worked, you consult, you help, you do all kinds of really great stuff. And I just am kind of curious, man. There were, as of a couple weeks ago, there was only a handful of churches that were really doing online, church well. And
Hmm.
then all of a sudden we had this thing called the corona, and everybody's like, oh crud, what do we do?
Yeah.
Let's jump online and figure it out. And I just wanted to get your thoughts, man. Like, what are you seeing out there in the world, in the wild, wild west? And what are some things that people are doing well, and maybe some things that you would encourage folks to stop doing,
Yeah.
and maybe do some things better?
Yeah. So first off, one of the things that I love the most about the season we're in right now is that in this season, we've thrown away all of our excuses, right?
Yeah,
So we had all of these crazy excuses on why people couldn't do church online, right?
yeah,
No one will watch a screen. You can't feel God's presence.
right.
It's not human enough. Well, it's funny how all of those things that we were like die on a hill about
Yeah,
in literally a week disappeared, right?
yeah,
And so like we went from this space of it's got to be this to what? Oh, now I got to do with this thing that I vowed I'd never do. So
right.
I believe that people are always forced to either adjust or be adjusted. Those are
Mm,
the two options that we have. So as humans, we should always be trying to learn, grow, develop, and when you adjust yourself,
mm.
it hurts a whole lot less than when you let all of the other factors of the world adjust you, right?
Wow.
So in this season, we're seeing a lot of people forced into adjustment. There's a lot of chiropractic work being done,
Mm,
and so what things that I'm seeing that people are doing well is they're thinking about ministry beyond Sunday,
yeah,
right? They're like, how do I connect to my people right now?
yeah,
They're thinking about new ways to do ministry. And the really smart ones are taking their org chart and throwing them away and coming up with a brand new org chart because nobody's job's the same anymore. Um, so that's what I'm seeing done well. What I'm seeing done poorly is trying to take the same methods out of the box of doing church in a box and
mm,
turning it into an online version,
yeah,
right? So like for years, our whole model was built around like you come here, and when you come here, then we do ministry,
right,
and then we do a couple little ministry things outside of that, but it's all revolves around this, right?
right,
Jesus never had a church in the first place, and so
right.
like and I love church, but what I think that we're forced into right now is we're forced into to defining new methods for our same message.
Yeah,
And a lot of pastors have preached and done leadership talks about this. Now they're forced to actually live it out.
yeah. That's so good,
So
man. I think that I love that whole concept. I mean, Jesus never had a building. This is truly church in the wild. At this
Yep.
point, it cannot be about a building and getting butts and seats. At this point is, what is the content? What does the programming look like? What is it that we're doing to engage our community that, far exceeds the four walls of the church community?
Right.
And I think that people are really forced at this moment to start asking themselves some harder questions.
Yep.
I heard a stat. I tuned into a little excerpt of what, a little video that Craig Rochelle sent out this morning. And he said over 10,000 people has signed up for their church online free platform. It's been free this whole time. But all of a sudden, there's a bunch of people that were like, you know what, we probably need to figure this thing out,
So think about that for a second, though. Think about that for a
Yeah.
second. 10,000 new subscribers,
Yeah.
right? If every one of those churches is 100 people,
Right.
how did we just change how people consume church?
100%. It's crazy to start to think about. But the other number that was nuts was, I sit in the position that I sit in, I hear it a lot, we do, we're going to do a little bit of a church online thing because, Philip's grandmother out here kind of likes to see him play in the band. And so, we're only
Right.
going to create some content for a couple, 3 people that are going to see it. But I think people, when they go in with that narrow mindset, completely limit themselves into what's actually possible. The next stat that blew me away was he said, out of those, 10,000 plus new people and all the people that have been using it, for thus far, he said over 28,640 something people raised their hand and said, I want to come to know Jesus. So now there's this new believers because people decided, you know what, we probably should start to think about this a little bit differently. So there's this whole new mission field that I think is being opened up for people if we can just begin to kind of think differently about this particular problem.
Right. And right? Like we're never going back there. So like when you're thinking about creating content for online, you're creating content for online. But if the coronavirus disappeared tomorrow, how many people are going to like now be part of your ecosystem and be like, what in the world happened if you stopped doing online?
Right. Well, and that's just it, man.
And
keep talking.
It's crazy. It's crazy because we used to think of it, like you said, as a bonus ad. We're doing it for Jimmy, whose grandmother likes to watch him play the bass guitar, and he's not even really that good.
Right.
But and then the more innovative churches adjusted to it's the new lobby. Right?
Yeah.
But now it's not the new lobby or for Jimmy's grandmother. It's how people engage your church.
Yeah.
Like we are teaching an entire world how to engage God in a different way. And that's going to be the repercussions of this moment will change how we do church forever.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about this, because I know this is something you've given some thought to, and I just am curious because I think one of the things that I'm hearing from some of the guys, they're in this place, they're a few weeks into this, they've turned the cameras on, and they're feeling this tension to playing to the camera, performing for the camera. This is weird. I'm preaching to an empty room. And ultimately, I think there's kind of a mindset shift that needs to happen. And I think that you've got to start thinking about this from a place of how am I going to engage everybody on the other side of the lens? And doing that in creative, fun, engaging ways. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts there.
Yep. So I was talking to some friends this earlier today, and they were like, well, how much content is too much? And I'm like, well, what does your local NBC station think? They have about 24 hours worth of content every day.
Yeah.
Right? Now, most of us in our churches, we can't produce 24 hours worth of content. But you know what we can do? We can create enough content to at least help people connect once a day through something. Right? And so, I'm a firm believer that creativity and innovation thrive in these moments. But let's not even be creative. Let's just take what we're already doing and make it digital. So
Yeah.
let's start putting small groups into Zoom calls. Let's start putting prayer meeting. My parents used to do the prayer chain.
Yeah.
My grandmother
Old
was
school.
on the prayer chain.
Come
Now
on.
we have the prayer chain. It's online at 8 o'clock every morning. You log in and you do prayer together as a church, right?
Yeah.
Let's start doing worship sets online. Let's start having our pastor pop on and rather than waiting for Sunday when his message is complete, he can now walk us through how he's preparing for that message and build up this anticipation and excitement for what the result is going to be on the weekend,
Yeah.
right? So there are
So
so
good.
many things before you even get to the camera on Sunday. Then you
Right.
get to the camera on Sunday and there's no pressure. It's like
Right.
I'm talking to you right now. Right now I'm
Right.
talking to you. There's people coming in and out of the chat. I'm seeing names pop up, but you know what? I'm talking to you.
Right.
And for the pastor who's not done this before or is not comfortable doing it, look at the camera and talk to one person.
So good.
Talk to one person and deliver your message to that one person. And watch how when you're authentic in doing that and you're obedient in doing that, God uses it to just dominate everybody where they're at.
Mm. That's so good, man. I think in the end of the day, that's really just comes down to challenging people not to look at a bunch of different other people who and what they're doing and copycatting that, but ultimately trying to figure out what is their authentic voice. What is it that,
Yep.
what's the authenticity that God's, put within them, and how can they put that on display? I think I heard you say it the other day when we were chatting. You said the best representation of authenticity is just looking in the mirror. And
Just look in the mirror.
just look in the mirror. And that just blew my mind for a few moments, because I think
Because
that's so tough for a lot of people to do, because they're going, man, this is the wild, wild west for us. I've never done this before. I don't know what to do. I'm going to rip off from this guy. I'm going to rip off from this guy, or man, I'm going to be the next Stephen Furtick, or blah, 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 blah. The list goes on and on. But in reality, like what I'm hearing from, the people in this country of ours, as you start to peruse social media and talk to neighbors and that kind of thing, man, all people want is an authentic experience. They just
Yep.
want something real. And I think right
Yep.
now, in this time that we're living in, specifically, people, there's so much stress, there's so much anxiety, there's so much turmoil, there's so much uncertainty. And truthfully, man, all people are looking for, and I believe the church should be the best representation of it, is an anchor. And for an
Yeah.
authentic expression of like, this is what life looks like with Jesus, and this is
Yeah.
who we're going to be in our city,
It's that simple. It's that simple. So you go to what are the things, why are you a church? Like why are you a church? Why do you exist? Right?
Yeah.
What is your purpose? And then what are your values? Right?
Mm.
And then you just live those values out digitally right now. You literally craft your content to do those things. So if you're a church about celebration, you're hosting parties all the time online. If
Yeah.
you're a church about biblical depth, you're doing deep devos every day online.
Yeah.
If you're a church that like worship is your thing, well, you should be worshiping all the time, every day, right? And so find the things that make you special, the things that make you, the values you live, and then blast them everywhere.
Yeah.
Every piece of content supports those values.
Dude, that's so good. I was scrolling on the gram last night, and I came across this wonderful post from our friend Lee Field. Shout out to the
Oh,
boys
I
at
saw that.
MXU.
So awesome.
It's so good. He says 1,000, 78,000, or 1.4 million viewers on your church stream means nothing if people are not activated to do something. It's not
Right.
called church and chill. Don't create fans, activate followers of Jesus. And I think
Yes.
that's really what we're called to. If I had a hanky right now, I'd shake it. It's like I don't, but I would, because that is exactly what we're looking for. And I think that right now, it's time for the church and the bride of Christ to rise up, and to be able to not just watch a bunch of content to be wowed by incredibly cool worship services that are being captured at this moment, but to be engaged in the presence of God and then activated to do something with it.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that's a
And
really,
connect people and to connect people.
and that's a really tough thing right now. You think it's tough, but to be honest with you, I've had more video calls, more FaceTime calls. I've
Yeah.
had more friends that have said, "Hey, we're doing a happy hour hang on FaceTime," or "Hey, we're going to get together for so-and-so's birthday party," even though we're not, in the same room together. We're all going to take this time, set it aside, and have conversations. The level of and depth that people are willing to go to right now is unreal. Like,
Right.
it's so ripe for us to start engaging one another and really challenging each other to kind of push the needle forward,
It's
and to
going to
be
be so
Jesus.
it's going to be so interesting, Nick, to look back and go, how much of our time, effort, and resources were we using to prop up something that didn't
Oof.
need to exist anymore?
Woo. My toes just got stepped on, bro. That was good.
Like how much of our time and resources have we been doing to build this gathering, and we've left all of this ministry potential on the table because we're so worried about our gathering. And our gatherings are important, and people love community. People need to be in community. And
Yeah.
when the restrictions lift, the church is going to thrive,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
hopefully what we're teaching people right now is, after the 6-month euphoria of being back in community, how they stay engaged when life starts to get busy again.
Yeah. Well, I
Because
think
we can
that's,
actually change the discipleship process right now.
yeah. I was going to ask you this. Do you think that there's going to be a handful of guys that are doing streaming and online content and all kinds of stuff at this moment that are just going to abandon it and go
Oh
back to
yeah,
business as usual?
they're
Or do
going
you,
to try.
yeah, which is unfortunate because I think there really is. I mean, there's a lot of people that, probably may never darken the door of a church, but would watch your content online and would
And
want to
engage in
maybe,
it.
and want to engage in it.
Yes.
Man,
And that's what I'm talking to churches about right now, is like, what are you doing to move the person from a digital attendee to part of the community?
yeah.
How are you inviting them into discipleship, into
But
counseling, into small groups, to join a text campaign just to know when the new content's available?
yeah, so let me push on that a little bit. So what if that becoming a regular attendee doesn't actually mean darkening the door of your
That's what
local
I mean,
church
though.
building? Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I'm with you. What if
Yeah.
I can be an attendee and I can volunteer and I can serve and I can do the ministry, I can do the outreach. I'll show up on Serving Saturday, and I'll tithe, but I never come to your building,
Hmm.
because there's going to be a
That's a
lot more of those people in the next 10 years.
I agree. I guess the next question then is for, let's make this a little bit more practical. So say there's somebody, that watches this video or hears this crazy fun conversation between the two of us, and says, you know what, dude, I'm in. I'm going to keep this going. But how in the world do I market my content? How do I get stuff out there? What are some suggestions? This whole thing is a, crazy new arena for me. What would you suggest for a church that's going, you know what? Let's figure out, this is who you are. This is what your core values are. Now let's start to, give them some
Yeah,
tips and some ideas on how to put this stuff into practice.
right. So the first thing is, as soon as you said marketing, everybody was like, I can't market because I got to save all my pennies for payroll.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yep.
I don't hate on the stewardship concept. I like it.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Embrace that. And if you feel really secure about that, then I support that decision. But supply and demand,
Mm.
right? Demand is going way down. Supply is going way up. And when supply goes up, cost comes down. So right now you can market further for less money than you ever have digitally. Okay. That's
Mm.
the first thing. That's the very first thing. So if you're going to spend money, now's the time to spend money.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're not going to spend money, or you can't spend money, or you don't have the faith to spend the money, which I could try. I'm not spending money on my business right now. I just sit at my desk all day, but
Right.
I can't even go out to get lunch. So, but the rules of marketing changed 2 weeks ago, right? So for the last 5 years, I've told every church, don't use the same content on every platform at the same time, and be very hypersensitive to this rule and that rule. Right
Right.
now, the volume is so high. I read a stat today. Instagram use has gone up 76% in the last 2 weeks.
I believe it. I believe it. My screen time report that I got this week told me that.
Unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
So people are almost double as much time online. So that means there's twice as much content in their face.
Right.
So let's be super intentional to drive them to one place and one action at a time. Okay.
It's good.
Now it doesn't mean you don't bunch content sometimes. I think if you're going to start using your social media and your digital platforms as ways to connect your congregation and your new congregation to your church, then you should every morning post the schedule for the day. We're going to do live at 10 o'clock. We're going to have worship at noon. We're having prayer meeting at 4, right? Your most important content 2 or 3 times a week. Make sure that you are using the countdown badge like we used on this, so people can subscribe to it and come to it, and they see the urgency of, oh, this is happening in 8 hours. I need to make sure I show up for that. Right. There was a conversation that 2 guys were having, and I set a timer on my phone because I didn't want to miss the content, because they were going to talk about how to manage your money in this season, and I was like, I definitely want to know about that, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is, when you market, the best marketing you ever do interrupts people right where they're at, right?
Right.
But don't interrupt people with the same with you got to do this, you got to do this, come do this, give to this, talk about this. Give them as much hope, inspiration, and purpose as you ask them to do things. And in fact, if you want to be really good at it, give them 3 or 4 pieces of content that just gives them hope and support and value before you ask them to do anything.
Yeah.
And watch how much more engaged they become in what you try to do. Then the practical, like the nuts and bolts, if you want people to share the content, ask them to share the content. If you want people to comment, ask them to comment. Hey, we want your questions at the end of this conversation. Start leaving your questions in the comments below. Ask them to like the content so that more people see it. Like, you've got to teach people how to engage the platform. And when you hack the algorithm, things go crazy. So, that's the different tiers of marketing in today's Wild West world.
I love that whole idea, though, of, reaching out to your people and asking them to share the content. I mean, that's leveraging people that are already fans. There's people that have already been encouraged by the content, and they're going to share something authentically of like, oh man, this really spoke to me, which then, plays that whole influencer game. And at the same time, continues to get your content out to so many more people than what it would have if you just, pay for a few ads and put it out there yourself, And
develop a digital team of your staff, high capacity volunteers, and influencers in your church, right?
Yeah.
Create a list of the 15 or 20 people that are going to share this content, and then send them the content and send them the copy and have them post it at exactly this time. 76% more engagement on Instagram. Let's make sure that we get that content out there as much as we can, as fast as we can.
100%. I think right now too, with the craziness of the world and the anxiety, ridden folks, I think that at this point, man, there's an opportunity for us as a church to be hope dealers, and to ultimately not just create some content for the sake of content of, hey, come watch this, check this out, blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, how are we making deposits into people and inspiring people, encouraging people, and building people up? This is a way for us to be who God's called and created us to be. We just have to stop and think about it and go, man, is this a good picture? Is this copy and is this language, sharp and on point, and those
and
types
sensitive
of things. And sensitive is a great thought. Let's not just be insensitive and throw everything out there. But I think there is this place too where I think we just have to step back and think and have a little bit more intentionality. But man, the reach can really start to pay off. Not just because we're going to get a bunch of new fans and a bunch of new followers, but we're actually going to give people hope in a season where that's incredibly needed at this point.
And if you don't know where to start with the things you're afraid of.
Yeah.
Start speaking hope over your own fears. And you'll be so surprised how many other people share that exact same fear. Because the reality is most of our conversations are about all these like unsaved people that we're trying to engage right now. And the reality is our own people's faith is shook.
Yeah.
They're losing their jobs. They're losing their money. They're afraid that they're going to get sick. They're losing people that are in their families to the sickness.
Wow.
We all have our own fears.
Yeah.
So if you can't encourage somebody about something else, encourage yourself in your post about your own fear and watch how that impacts everybody else's fear.
Man, you could just drop the mic at that point, like pull an earbud out and like throw it down. Like, dude, that's really, really good, because I think what you're doing there is you're tapping into something that you can empathize with. And empathy right now is necessary. Empathy right now plays. It goes a long way, because what people don't need is just someone say, it's going to be great, and the whole building's burning around you. It's like, no, like, this is a crazy time.
Faith over fear. Faith over fear.
But this is what we know, right? And yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not promised, but right now, like, this is the moment, right? And this is the moment that we have to arise as the body of Christ and be there for one another, because I think that how we interact with one another actually is incredibly compelling to the outside world. I think Acts is very, very clear about that at the end of, Pentecost, and everybody was, together living in one accord. It says people in general liked what they saw, and the Lord added to their numbers daily those that were being saved. It's that people were walking past going, I don't know what's going on with these people, but I want to be a part of that. And I really believe that this is one of those times right now, that how we respond to each other and how we grow together in community, we have an opportunity to put Jesus on display like never before. And I think it's incredible. Here's an idea I think I want to ask you about, and this can go a couple different ways, but I think you've said it before. You said creativity at its root is problem solving. And I believe that right now there's some folks that are going, you know what, like, I'm just trying to figure out how to not have the wheels fall off and to keep doing church on Sunday in some way, shape, or form. Great, I understand that. Let's set that aside for a second. Let's look at this and go, what are some really interesting and creative ways that you're seeing right now of problem solving when it comes to the church actually loving their city well? And maybe some cool creative ideas that you might have to throw out there for us.
So I think the easiest and most cost-effective one, and you and I just talked about this a couple minutes before we went live, virtual pastoring, right? Like, open up a 5-hour block on your calendar and set up 30-minute counseling calls on Zoom with people that are so scared and so confused right now.
Love it.
And you'd be surprised. 2 of them may end up being on your staff because they're wondering if they're going to get a paycheck again.
Right.
Okay. That's an easy way. I think online Zoom calls, easy way.
Yeah.
Almost every kid is locked out of school for the next at least 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
What an amazing time. Those kids are going to consume a crap load of TikToks, a bunch of YouTube content, or maybe we can drop some Jesus in there somewhere. Yeah. Right? I love what Central has done, and Church by the Glades, a few other churches that I am a fan of. When schools close, a lot of times meals close for kids. Yeah. And so they've created drive-through meal pickup for families. So good. And not just meal pickup, but resource pickup, because people are out of jobs right now. Yeah. People are getting laid off every single day. They're getting laid off. And they don't have money for groceries. They don't have money for cleaning supplies. Church by the Glades gave away toilet paper. Wow. Like, how brilliant is that? The whole world's freaking out about toilet paper.
Can you send them my address? Because I probably need some.
I don't know if they export out of state, but I think those are 3 super practical ways. Yeah. In addition to making sure that you're creating content, you're creating sensitive content. Don't try to, I think that when we're in moments like this, creativity thrives. So a church planner or a scrappy young church, you have the ability to do things that some of the established organizations don't have the ability to do right now, because all of their money has been put into these systems that are built into a building, where yours is built into a DSLR, and the
Yeah.
ability to go do church in a field or on the beach or something. Like, you
Yeah.
get to be more creative than you even know what to do, because right now the world is just a different place.
Yeah.
So
It really is.
that's the way I would look at creativity.
Yeah, man.
And you know, we talked about taking that box and setting it to the side, but let's put the box back in the front. What is the biggest problem that's keeping you from being comfortable doing
mm,
online church? Use all of your resource to solve that problem in the next 48 hours.
yeah.
You
That's so
solve that
good.
problem, and now you're not going to have to worry about the wheels falling off. You're going to have the wheels back on for a couple weeks till we figure out what the next thing is.
Yeah. Dude, that's so good. I actually saw some friends were doing a thing in Florida where they were handing out resources and groceries and doing different things, but they're making everybody stay in their car, but they had their entire pastoral team lined up. And as cars would come out, they would stop and keep their distance, but they would pray. They would
That's
just pray with
awesome.
every single car. And to me, I was just so encouraged by that they're going, you know what, we don't know what else to do, but we're gonna try and give you what we have,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do our best, and we're gonna pray for you in this moment. And I just thought that was such an incredible thing to see, and it's
Well, and
really,
humanity runs to the same three things every time they're in crisis. They run to faith, they run to knowledge, and they run to innovation,
yeah,
right? We want to innovate our way out. We want to consume as much learning as we can so we don't get back in this spot, and we're desperate for faith. I remember when 9/11 happened, churches were slam packed,
yeah,
right? Well, our churches can't be slam packed right now because nobody can go to them.
right,
But our online church is. So people are running to where you're at right now. Just turn on the lights and embrace them.
yeah,
You know, oh, you mentioned about innovative, creative things that people are doing. I think another thing that I've seen a couple churches do is they're engaging local healthcare systems to
yeah,
provide backup and resources. We've got these huge buildings that are completely empty.
yeah,
Let's convert them to hospitals
yeah.
so that people can get better. And it would be awesome. It would be amazing if you had to postpone church starting again because you had to wait till all the people got out of the hospital beds.
So good. I mean, I think about it, I was just reading an article this morning that was talking about just the fear right now around hospitals being overrun. And
Yeah.
here we are, we've got these big, massive buildings, totally sitting empty. No one's in them at this moment. And it goes, man, now personnel, resources, all those things
Right.
definitely could be challenging, but it's an opportunity, right? To be able to go, hey, here's what we can
Yeah.
do. And to ultimately arrange a space so that people could have more than enough, as opposed to feeling like they don't have any.
Right.
I
I
think
mean,
that's,
Vanderbilt Hospital here in Nashville has taken part of their parking garage and built a wing of beds in the parking garage,
wow,
just waiting for the moment that they're going to need them.
wow. Dude, that's incredible. I love that intentionality. I'm just saying, hey, we're going to be a part of the solution here. This is what we're
Yep.
going to do, which I
Yep.
think is stinking fantastic. Dude, that's cool. Let me ask you this I have two last questions for you, and I'm just curious, man. Um, what happens next? Is this the new normal? Is this it? Like, are we reached a new season? Like, what are people doing?
It's good. So I think that I don't think it's exclusively next,
mm,
but I think that we are ridiculously mistaken if we do not incorporate this into what we do next,
mm,
right? And so there's always the need for community, and there's a beautiful thing when God's people gather together to do church,
yeah,
and that's not going to go away. But if we use this moment of innovation and creativity as a Band-Aid, and then we throw it in the trash and we don't make it part of our method and part of our playbook moving forward, we have wasted a crisis,
wow,
right? And so what I would say is, as important as it is to get your content out there right now, it's equally as important to engage, to measure the engagement of that content so that when this ends, you know what things to keep doing.
wow,
The church should not be just Monday to Friday. I mean, just Sunday, and we don't engage anybody Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday anymore.
yeah,
We've learned too much in 2 weeks. We've learned too much to go back that way. That's the first thing. I think the second thing, staffs have to change. We have to change how we staff our churches. We have to put more resource and intentionality behind the online presence of our church, so that we are prepared if this kind of thing happens again.
Yeah.
And good stewardship will tell you to get people to even more comfortable with online giving.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
There's a lot of good stuff right there, man. Honestly, I think, it's amazing. If you think about the handful of churches that have been doing online church pretty well, and have been already kind of, several steps down the road, when this thing happened, they were really prepared. And they didn't just go, hey, it's business as usual. They went, you know what, we're going to ramp up. We're actually going to do more. And you're starting to see some, what's crazy is I saw it today that there's a couple churches that are bringing back like a midweek gathering. Those things have been, they were taken out to a pasture and shot years ago. I mean, I thought they were pretty well done, but man, people are getting together because they really just need a moment to engage in the presence and engage with one another and to feel a part of something.
So here's the thing. Yeah, I want my ADD is acting up. So sorry for interrupting you, but they were done because our lives got too busy to go to their box to show up for the moment. The desire to commune was not gone. Yeah. But my kids' soccer practice and baseball practice and my work and not being able to get from my job to church by 6:30 for potluck and all these other factors were the problem, not the actual communing and worshiping and learning about God. That never went out of style. No. We just weren't paying enough attention to think, hey, this isn't working in physical anymore. What would happen if we did it digitally?
Yeah, and still give people that opportunity. It's so good, man. Like,
I wonder what Sunday school would look like if it was a podcast you listened to on the way to church.
So good. I mean, that's how we're consuming content, so much right now. But why not just use that to our benefit instead of we've got to think about this differently and approach it differently. I'll tell you, man, there's a couple things that I think are interesting. It's like, I heard it said this morning that one pastor in commenting on the Church Online platform said, you know what? Life Church has been building an ark for a long time. And now there's finally a flood and they were ready, What a great analogy. I think it's perfect. But what's really incredible, man, as I was thinking about this whole thing was, I've had so many people and friends that have said, hey man, how are you feeling? How you doing? How's life? How's this? How's that? Thinking that, cause they know, a lot of people know I'm kind of an anxious person and I can get overwhelmed. There's a lot of stuff, that happens. I'm human. But man, I tell you, what's crazy is that as I've stopped and evaluated some things, I really was saying for probably weeks before any of this thing happened, I said, man, I'm really just craving time at home. I'm craving time with my family. I'm craving time to reconnect with friends. I'm craving all the things that really matter, because I was just running at a pretty good clip and really, really, really busy. But what's nuts is this thing has forced me to reevaluate all the different things that I'm putting my hands to. And I'm going, man, I know that post-corona, there's going to be some things different, because it's a failure if I fail to learn from this. And I really believe that there's something in this that's a lesson for the body of Christ at large, and we have got to learn it. How do we create content, engage community outside of just thinking people are going to come to the four walls of our church? And how do we activate the body of Christ to be live and vibrant, and beacons of hope in our community? I think that's what we really got to go to, man. Like, we've got to start thinking about this thing and letting it evolve.
No question. So, if we waste the crisis, it is a poor stewardship moment of the church.
Don't waste the crisis.
Don't waste the crisis, man.
That's the quote of the day right there. Dude, that's great. I don't have anything else. My mind is blown, and I said at the beginning of this, every time I talk to you, I walk away with 8 or 10 or 20 things to think about, and I think I have about 35 at the moment.
I feel the same way about hanging out with you. So,
man, I love you much. It's good to see your shining face, and
likewise,
I'm glad that you're staying safe and healthy. And
likewise, and thank you for what you and your team have done to help the local church.
I appreciate that.
Watching you guys jump into action, there's a reason that people connect to you guys the way you do, and it's really special. And so I'm honored to get to be part of what you guys are doing, and to call you guys friends, but then just to watch
Man,
how you're serving right now. It's a really special thing, man.
man, thank you so much. I appreciate your kindness, and I love you, dear friend. Thank
All
you.
right, my friend. Be
All right, we'll
good.
talk to you soon.
All right, bye.